Hello members, and welcome to another weekly market update. Please, as always, check the other video where I talk about the overall market conditions. Let's look at the look over my shoulder now at some of the individual things I've got going on or looking at going on. Obviously, I'm not adding new trades with the market in its current condition, so we're just looking at what's going on with what's already open. Interesting, I had this one a while ago, as you know, and that was about the entry point, someone like that, and it went up and it's doing very well. But what's interesting about now is that it could be creating out another opportunity where I can either add to my position, or if I missed it the first time around, to get back in. It looks clearer on the weekly chart. As you can see here, it's that kind of stepping action, stepping up. There's obviously a precedent here. We look for precedents to play the odds. So there's that sort of step there, and it could be right on it again now. Might be something like where's my line gone there? So yeah, that right on that line there, 14 is one, and obviously the 40 week itself, the 200 day. So there's two ways of looking at it. I could get in there with a little bit, or I could just wait. See, last time it got right down to the 200 day there. So it's depending how we're feeling about this one. In the current climate, if I was going to get in on this one, I'd probably say okay, if it comes into that sort of range around here, around 13, then that would be my entry point. But otherwise, that trade's going very well. Let's look at what else we got here. ANSS. That one was in down here, and that's gone up. Obviously doing very well. Let's see if there's a similar situation on the weekly chart. Some of these stocks are just the gift that keeps on giving as they just march up the 40 week like that. No guarantees, of course. So that's where it looks like that. I think that's where I got in, and then it's gone up from there. There is a kind of step there, but again, in the current market, if it got down to there, then fine. But there's definitely a pattern to that one. And main thing is, it was in a good buy point, and then there's so much buffer in that now if anything goes wrong. TILE in down there, and at around 18, and it's just chugging along nicely. In the current market, for them not to be going down, those are strong stocks. You can't ask much more than that. They're just carrying on, marching upwards, doing their own thing. Here's one that we achieved liftoff on just recently. As you can see, that irresistible line there, I just couldn't say no to, as it ploughed on into the rising 40 week 200 day, and then really did what you hope we do in these things, and it just went bam off the wall as if it was a real brick wall, up at 50% alone if you just bought the stock. So that's doing great. I think we just achieved liftoff on another one, actually, DQ. As you know, there was that similar pattern again, marching sideways into a rising moving average around 44. Gave us an entry point around here, and it's on its way up 1,000 points if you were spread betting on that already. That one is looking great. And again, look how it's bucking the trend of the market. These are the sort of stocks where that's a sign that the stock market's playing around going down, these ones going up, don't care. Good. Let's check in on the pound. Again, doing its own thing. There's no rush to the dollar for safety, which is something in the favour of the bullish camp. I've kept on saying is that if there was real fear out there, then people would be liquidating everything, and that would be in effect turned into dollars, which would send the pound and the euro and everything lower. But the pound hasn't been doing that, and the dollar's just been stuck in the doldrums. So there's might be a clue there that this is just a general correction in the overall market. We're seeing the same thing in cryptocurrencies, what I'll talk about next. It's not that there's much selling, it's just that there's a lack of buying. And that's really what might be going on here. People are just drawing in the horns for a bit. So I was in down there, and that one's marching up nicely on its trend line. Let's look at gold. This is just stuck in that channel. In fact, I gave a trade a couple of weeks ago, I think, about getting in about there on support, and then just taking advantage of that gap, that bouncing up. So you can play that game. But listen, all the time it's holding above its 200 day. What that's doing is turning the 200 day upwards. Something that's above its 200 day with that moving average pointing up is a bullish sign. If we look at the weekly chart, mean, again, the 40 week is the blue line. This thing is holding, and unlike before when it's just all over the place, absolute trendless mess. At least what we've got now is holding position above the 40 week, and the 40 week, the more it does that, the more the 40 week is going to turn up. It's looking more and more bullish for gold as we go. USO for the oil. As you know, this was a very long line of resistance I had my eye on, and it broke out, pulled back, and that was my entry point. So that was a multi-year resistance line, therefore very valid. So when it breaks out, very valid breakout. And that pullback is just a beautiful time to take advantage of it. And let's look at the daily chart here. So I was in around here. There's that pullback. And up she goes. Had a little bit of a pullback this week, fine. But, you know, we've got a kind of diagonal trend going on here, and it's just holding nicely. So if it can stay on that line, stay above its long-term resistance, and it may well pull back to that. I don't know, we'll see. But that's a great weekly chart. Interesting, speaking about weekly charts, this little penny stock thing I was talking about, hanging on in there nicely, how it's respected its 40 week. $1.80, it's still an entry point, I think. This is something I'd probably just buy the stock for, because look at all that upside. There's no reason why this thing couldn't go 10 times the amount with a multi-year time scale. There it is on the weekly chart. It's holding above its 40 week this whole time. See. So and what I love about this is it's got that nice crossover now. We've got the 40 week above the 70 week. All systems go on that one. I think it's great, and it's still on an entry point. I think it's really good. So that's all for now. I will speak to you in cryptocurrencies.